You know how it is, right? You're scrolling through old archives online, maybe just killing time, and suddenly you stumble across something that just pulls you in. A single, forgotten headline can unravel this entire human drama, a full-blown detective story that's been hiding for over a century. Well, today we're going to follow one of those exact digital trails.
So this is where it all begins. A newspaper clipping from June 15, 1889. It's so tragic, but also so matter-of-fact. Accidentally killed his brother. A prominent young cattleman is dead, and his own brother did it. I mean, what a headline. But it leaves you with way more questions than answers.
And that's the mystery at the heart of all this. This tiny 130-year-old news report gives us the what, but it tells us nothing about the who, or the why, or, what happened after the dust settled. This is where the real detective work kicks off.
Okay, so let's start with the incident itself, just based on what that article tells us. The brothers were out looking for cattle, but they were in separate groups. They had this prearranged signal worked out. Whoever found the herd was supposed to fire a pistol. But when it came time to actually give that signal, something went horribly, horribly wrong.
I mean, can you even imagine? Beyond just the facts of the case, this is the real human core of the tragedy. And honestly, that question right there is what pushed the researcher to dig so much deeper, to turn this forgotten little news blurb into a whole family history.
So, that brings us to the hunt. How in the world do you even begin to solve a mystery from 1889 using tools from today? Well, it turns out you start by breaking down the clues you have and then just following them, one by one, down the rabbit hole.
You gotta have a game plan, right? And the approach here was super smart and methodical. First, just squeeze every little verifiable detail out of that tiny article. Next, take those details and start searching public records, like cemetery databases. And then, the final step, hunt for something richer, like a family history, to really connect all the dots.
But of course, it's never that easy, is it? Right away, bam, the first huge roadblock. Trying to find a Jim Brown in Texas records is, well, it's like trying to find a needle in a haystack. There were just way too many of them to know which one was our guy.
And this is the absolute game changer. While the name was incredibly common, the date of death, not so much. June 14th, 1889. That became the unique key. It was the one piece of information that could filter out all the noise and point the investigation directly to the right person.
And boom, there it is, the first big aha moment. A quick search of the Greenleaf Cemetery records pops up a gravestone for a J.C. Brown. And his date of death? June 14th, 1889. Exactly what the newspaper said. Suddenly, that super common name wasn't a problem anymore. They'd found him. And get this, the gravestone itself actually offers another clue. It was an impressive marker, well made. That suggests the family probably had some money, which lines up perfectly with the newspaper calling Jim a prominent young cattleman. The pieces are starting to fit.
This right here, this is the smoking gun. This is the moment everything just snaps into place. Researchers managed to track down a biography of the family's mother, Julia Norris Brown. And tucked away in her life story, a mention of the family tradition that her son, James Claiborne, was tragically shot by his younger brother, Joseph Samuel. The digital trail led to undeniable proof.
Okay, so now that we have their names, we can really start to build a picture of their lives. Who were the Browns, and what was their world actually like back in the late 1800s? So let's properly introduce them. The victim, James Claiborne Brown, he was 38 years old when he died. And his much younger brother, Joseph Samuel, was only 23 when the accident happened. He would have to carry that day with him for the next 46 years of his life.
And when you dig into their family, oh man, it gets even more interesting. Their father, James W., just up and left for Mexico in 1866 and was literally never heard from again. That left their mother, Julia, to raise 6 sons all on her own. This was a family with deep, deep roots in Texas, and they were steeped in the history of the time.
Which brings us to a really key detail from the tax rolls in 1888. Just a year before he died, James C. Brown's assets were valued at $3,000.
Now, you have to remember, back then, $3,000 was a small fortune, and it all came from his 65 horses and 300 head of cattle. This confirms that the newspaper wasn't just exaggerating. He really was a big deal in the community. It gives you a real, tangible sense of the successful future that was just gone in an instant. So,
Let's step back and look at how this whole thing comes together. We've gone from a single, forgotten newspaper clipping all the way to a rich, detailed family history, and it's all thanks to following these little digital breadcrumbs.
When you lay it all out like this on a timeline, you really get a sense of the dramatic journey this family went on. You can see these huge turning points, the father just vanishing, the tragic death of one son, the relocation of another, and finally the passing of the mother who somehow held it all together through everything.
So what about Joseph, the brother who pulled the trigger? Well, his story didn't end that day. He moved on, relocated to a new town, Midland, and actually built a very successful career for himself, also as a cattleman. And, he took care of his mother, Julia, for the rest of her life. He fulfilled his duty to his family, even with the shadow of what had happened.
And really, this is the ultimate takeaway. As the researcher Clay Riley put it, it's actually incredibly rare for historical documents to perfectly line up with a family tale. You know how it goes. Family stories get a little twisted and changed over the generations. But in this case, the digital evidence proved that the story passed down through the family was 100% true.
It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What long-forgotten tragedies, what incredible successes, what hidden mysteries are tucked away in your own family's past, just waiting for someone to get curious and start digging.